Like many of you, I was recently blindsided by Ben from Cleave to Antiquity announcing his conversion to Orthodoxy. And I want to say from the outset that I love Ben. I have zero ill will toward him, and I wish him nothing but the best. I am not here to besmirch his character or choices, and I applaud his willingness to follow his conscience. I've also long said, including to Ben, that I'm not one for internet drama, and I hate spending my time on such things. But since he has been on this channel, many have obviously reached out asking for my thoughts, so it's only right that I share where I stand for this audience. If you are new here, welcome to Canon and Creed. My name is Miles, and I'm simply a lay theology nerd that also happens to be passionate about historic Protestant faith practice and piety, so I make video essays on various subjects that fall under that banner. But today is anomalous. In this video, I want to share a bit of my background, why I started Canon and Creed, and then address some of the questions that people have had regarding Ben's conversion. And I promise that all of these things are related and are relevant to the subject in focus. So, I was raised in a Seventh day Adventist household by a Seventh day Adventist pastor, and considered myself a Seventh day Adventist for roughly 2 decades. About 14 years ago, I had a profound encounter with the gospel when a friend shared it with me over lunch, and it left a lasting mark on me. Upon coming to Christ, I had a burning desire to get to the bottom of what God had done in my life. And this led me to being passionate about apologetics and being able to give a defense of the faith that I now so greatly cherished. And this really was the birth of my passion for theology proper. It gave birth to a process of personal study that really hasn't stopped to this day. I began doing street evangelism as well about 8 years ago, which really exposed me to just how much there is to know about the faith, resulting in a need to be as widely brushed up as I could be, not just on my own beliefs, but also on the belief systems of others. And this eventually accumulated in my desire to reach Seventh day Adventists, my kin of origin, if you will. I saw a real lack of materials out there for people that were in the situation I was in, and felt there was a big need for content aimed at Christians to better equip them to be able to reach Seventh day Adventists, which resulted in my starting of Answering Adventism, an apologetics website and YouTube channel aimed at helping Christians and former Adventists better understand the complex worldview and framework of Seventh day Adventism, almost working as a translator for Christians, if you will. And that was also my introduction to YouTube 4 years ago. I had a roadmap for that platform and a place that I wanted to get it to that was evergreen for any person to come across at any point in the future and still find value. And that has been achieved. In the background, though, I'd been engaging in online theological discussions for years, even long before YouTube, and a new question began to burn in me. Where are the inward facing Protestant apologetics? Most of what you see out there is external facing. It is focused on contra Roman Catholicism or contra Orthodoxy, where people are engaging or speaking to the other side of the aisle. But who was speaking to our own side? Who was equipping Protestants in their own heritage so they wouldn't be easy pickings for conversion? And I didn't see enough of that, so I decided to do something about it. Now, I say all of this not to talk about myself, but to be transparent about who I am and why this channel exists. I'm not your pastor, I'm not a scholar, and I don't try to act like I am. It's actually why I cite so many primary sources here, even though I know that that's going to hurt video performance. Most people want entertainment, e-drama, dumpster fires, hot takes, clips. But that's just not what Canon and Creed is about. Here's the mission statement of Canon and Creed that's posted here on the YouTube channel. Canon and Creed is for Protestants and evangelicals who want to rediscover their historic heritage and stand confidently in it. We champion reformational Catholicity through analysis, historical clarity, and theological education, grounded in the authority of Scripture, canon, and shaped by the wisdom of the Christian tradition, creed. We examine common distortions of the Reformation, its history, and its core doctrines, equipping believers across the Protestant spectrum to embrace the depth, unity, and beauty of their shared heritage. Which is to say that the primary goal and focus of this channel is Protestants. It's not Roman Catholics or the Orthodox, etc. And it's also not going to be limited to inter-Christian tradition disputes, but it will also entail content regarding Islam, Unitarianism, the American cults of the 19th century, and more, all of which the Protestant heritage has something to say in response to. And my goal is to share advanced and sometimes complex information with you all in the most easy to digest way, in hopes that Protestants will get a clearer and fuller picture of the rich heritage in which we exist, so you can better spot when it is and isn't being represented accurately, but also be more confident in your Protestantism. So while I'm not a pastor or a scholar, I do want it to be known that I am a member in good standing of a PCA church, and my presbyters, including my family's ruling elder, are familiar with this channel, and I am accountable and submitted to them in accordance with the scriptures. So I just want that to be up front and so people understand where I'm coming from. Which brings us back to Ben's conversion. I don't claim to know his motives, his heart, or his conscience. That's between him and Christ. But this is a case study in why Canon Creed exists, and it's why I don't recommend non denominational churches. Friends, you have to know why you are a Protestant. If someone asks you on the spot, why are you a Protestant? Can you give an answer? Be honest. If not, you are prime real estate for conversion. You cannot remain a Protestant by proxy. It has to be because of conviction, not convenience. And like many others, I've had to wrestle with the temptation to convert. Like I said, I've been engaging theology for a long time. And folks, when you do street evangelism, you encounter it all. I've encountered Hare Krishnas, Hindus, Muslims, Roman Catholics, Greek Orthodox, Oriental Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, Jehovah's Witnesses, Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons. You encounter it all. You don't know what you're going to get. And if you think your heart is racing engaging online, go out on the streets and start engaging with people. And trust me, when you don't know what you're going to get and the objections you're going to hear, it challenges you. It's a lot. And I resonate with the people who want truth at all costs. And if you haven't gone through that trial yet of feeling the pressure to convert as a Protestant, you will. And when it comes, you need to know which issues are the true forks in the road and study them deeply. For me, that process has left me more assured than ever in historic Protestantism, specifically in the Reformed tradition. That's why I say at the beginning of almost every video, this is the channel where we are bullish on historic Protestant faith practice and piety. And I mean that. Now, when something like this happens, it naturally raises questions, and I want to answer those as directly as I can. So here's some of the main ones that people have asked, and then I also have a couple comments that I just want to make sure are out there for transparency. People have asked if I knew about this in advance, and no, obviously I did not. If I had, I would not have been collaborating with Ben in the fashion that we did. It was always more conversational than rigorous, but still. It would have been one thing for him to step back publicly and say, I need to work through some things, and then after some time to come back and say, hey, I've had a change of heart in X, Y, and Z area. No harm, no foul. Totally get it. But he continued making pro Protestant content and collaborating with Protestant content creators, bolstering Protestantism, while apparently internally he was moving in the opposite direction. And while it is true that there's going to be people that are just salty about his conversion outright, that's not my issue. My issue is that he either very hastily made a rash decision, which would raise all sorts of other concerns, or he was wrestling with this for a while, but he continued publicly posturing as a Protestant apologist. And so I hope he understands why that can come across as confusing for many of us. Two, people have asked me about the vetting of guests on this channel and doing a better job of that. Now, Ben has basically been the only guest on this channel, aside from my friend Michael Potamopatus. We haven't really broken the ice formally on guest content on this channel. That is going to be a phase 2 rollout that will be coming in the next few months or so. Interviews and discussions that I was known for having over on Answering Adventism, very in-depth and rigorous interviews. But I will say that I'm going to be doing a better job of making sure the guests on this channel are accountable to the local church, making sure that they're confessionally rooted if the subject in discussion requires such, and so on. And I'll just say it right now, folks, I probably, when it comes to collaborating with a Protestant, I'm only going to be collaborating with confessional Protestants more than likely moving forward. I might go on other people's channels. I'm going to be having people on here that are Roman Catholics or Orthodox, etc. But in terms of teaming up with quote unquote Protestants, Yeah, I think the ship has sailed on the non-denominational evangelical sort of collaboration. I don't recommend people go that route. I don't want to get into all that right now, but that's just kind of where my thoughts are on that. People have asked me as well. Three, will I comment on the state of Ben's soul? No, folks, that would be shameful, and I advise others to not give in to that or to do that. Instead of dogpiling, pray for him. Four, will I be removing the videos that we did together? This is also a no because I want the paper trail to exist of our discussions and some of the things that were said and claimed. Simple as that. Five, this is just a transparency measure. If I ever end up seriously considering converting, and I do not foresee that happening, nor is it even on my radar, but just as a transparency measure, if I ever end up seriously converting or considering converting, I will publicly step away from content creation and submit to my presbyters and others that I have accountability with, and I'll address that with them offline and work through those things, and then come back and make an announcement of where I have landed. Again, I'm not saying I'm doing this, but I want people to know that's what I believe is the proper and right thing to do, not continue making content and grow a channel on one premise, but then behind the scenes, you're abandoning that for one tradition that you've been publicly against for who knows how long. And then finally, the last one, lots of people have asked, does this shake my faith in Protestantism? And no, not in the least bit. Having listened to Ben's publicly stated reasons, I wasn't moved in the slightest. Claiming to have received a burning in the bosom type experience when asking God about Mary is not particularly convincing. That I'm going to burn in hell for not kissing and venerating icons, or that the filioque is damnable heresy, etc. While I have by no means mastered it all, I can say that I've been engaging in theological discourse for over a decade on both the streets and online. And folks, I've seen Baptists become Lutherans, Presbyterians become Roman Catholics become atheists, and everything in between. Um, this is nothing new. I don't buy into the edits and the cuts and the vibes and the internet buzz, and that stuff's not going to convince me, folks. That is not where my flag is planted. You're going to have to use exegetical arguments with me. You're going to have to use authority arguments with me, and so on. But at the end of the day, you have to know why you are a Protestant. Not because you follow someone you admire, not because of trends or online buzz, but because you are convinced that historic Protestant confessionalism is true, good, and beautiful, that it is worth living, defending, and sharing. And I've never been more bullish on the Reformed tradition. As the Reformers cried, the ancient church is on our side. People can mock this, they can laugh at it, they can make Protestantism the butt of the joke, they can act like it's dollar store Christianity, you name it, it doesn't faze me in the slightest. Because what I have found is that cry is both balanced and true, despite a lot of the rhetoric against such. But all in all, folks, I'm excited about where this channel is headed. And my promise to you is that Canon and Creed will not become an e-drama or pop culture response content channel. There is enough of that out there. We don't need any more of that. I understand that's what gets clicks. I understand that is what a lot of people are fishing for so that they can get the clips and it can go viral. And that's not what I'm about here, okay? It's not going to be dumpster fire response drama content channel. I am committed to the stated mission of this outlet. And if you're from an evangelical or non-denom background, my hope is that you'll be compelled to embrace confessional Protestantism, because theology matters, the gospel matters, and I'll die on that hill, even if I'm standing there alone, because it wasn't social media edits or aesthetics that changed my life 14 years ago. It was encountering this simple message that God, in the person of Christ, gave himself for me, and that by faith in his person and work, I can receive the greatest balm of Gilead. And God, in his great mercy and grace, applied that salve to my soul, uniting me with Christ after calling upon the Lord. Institutional affiliation did not do this. Venerating icons did not do this. Praying to the saints did not do this. Learning scholastic theology didn't do this. Reformed theology did not do this. The simple gospel of Jesus Christ did. And that's the hill that Canon and Creed will live and die on.